welcome to the Pig and Whistle Tales from Azeroth. As always, here at the Pig and Whistle Inn in Stormwind, I go for a variety of subjects with regards to World of Warcraft. Pick up a bottle or a pint, sit back and enjoy. This week's episode, we will be going over a few things that are coming in midnight. Now, I know that this is somewhat late. There was half a reason I didn't do an episode last week. Some of it was mainly just mindset. I wasn't in the right mindset for it. And I wanted to give all of the sort of midnight analysis in one episode, and I couldn't really do that. And with everything going on, I didn't think that, that there was many different factors to it. Mainly, we didn't have all the information as well. So that's why this episode is coming out a little bit of a week after it. But here I am. I do apologise for the week off. And we will get caught up with essentially what is happening in midnight. So I'm gonna. I don't know how I want to do this. I don't know if I want to go one by one in a lot of detail. What I might do is I'll go one by one, give very brief sort of analysis on it, and then throughout leading up to midnight, I'm going to give more in-depth looks at it, because we are going to have alpha soon. Alpha testing will begin in the next few weeks, apparently, which is really good. But obviously, that is yet to be seen when it will all release, what date or the sort of roadmap looks like, these kind of things. But we have the weekly news as always. We'll start off with Orta, the Broken Mountain. The Godfather and Reshinor are your world bosses for the week. They can be located within Azj-Kahet, the Undermine, and Koresh. That's the one. Battlegrounds are your bonus event for this week. This is just simply you earn more honor for competing in Battlegrounds. Very simple, very much worthwhile doing if you're ever looking to gear an alt character for PvP. And Temple of Hotmogu is your brawl for the week. This is simple. This is very much Temple of Hotmogu, but sped up. So you have more haste, more health, very fast paced, and the points rack up really quickly. So you want to basically grab them orbs as quickly as possible and hold on to them. You really don't want to be, missing out on that sort of thing at all. So, where do we start? We will start off with level 90, obviously, with everything happening in a new expansion. You can expect the level cap to increase. We are going up to level 90. This is the same level that we had when we went to Missa Pandaria from Cataclysm. So we are at that point of the leveling experience. I wonder when they'll reset this as well, because I don't see them going to level 100 again. I'm not going to lie. But here we are. We are on pace, essentially, to keep up with classic World of Warcraft, level-wise. And this is very simple. We're going from level 80 to 90. You're going to get 10 sort of talent points that you can spend. 3 of them are in the primary tree, 4 of them in the normal tree, and then there's going to be 4 that you can use on hero talents, I believe. But we will get to that a bit later. So, we're going to start off with the biggest feature of all that is going to happen, and that is player housing. Okay? Player housing is obviously within World of Warcraft, it's been tested quite substantially over the course of the year, I would suspect, and even longer. But the info that we kind of know is the neighborhoods and sort of the player housing overview. So the neighborhoods are essentially where you can have or view multiple people's houses. The way that they describe this is essentially it's going to be a social system. They're persistent instances. Your neighbor will always be your neighbor unless one of you moves. Very simple. Your house is in its own instance within your neighborhood instance. Very simple. So it's like Inception, instances within instances. Neighborhoods are located in neighborhood zones. So Razorwind Shores for Horde and Founders Point for the Alliance. Neighborhoods can be both public or private. And each neighborhood has 50 similarly sized plots, each of which has a house. Very simple. Neighborhoods have a group activity called endeavors, and these endeavors are essentially to get you into the open world of World of Warcraft. It's not like a garrison where everything's going to be located within that garrison and you're going to be very much doing everything solo. You want to be grouping up with people, and these will send you into the open world eventually. Neighborhood Favor is a renowned system used to level up your house and earn rewards. Very simple. So essentially, these neighborhoods are here to just look good, okay? They work on this sort of basis. So profession tables may or may not be available in neighborhoods. They still don't know about this yet. Neighborhoods will not be cookie cutter, as they've called it. There is cool tech to allow them to be unique, which is very nice. So it's not going to be a very generic, big circle of houses, fountain in the middle. They're all going to have their own little niche sort of look to them, which I love, absolutely love. And there's going to be sort of neighborhood density varieties. You can live closer to the village center in the hub of things, or live further away in a more secluded area. Definitely the latter for me, in my honest opinion. While neighborhoods do not offer monsters and questing, the endeavors are what, kind of subside this. So, again, this is like, it's really tough. It will lead you into the open world, these endeavors, but they are there to try and get the community or this neighborhood to work together and to level up this neighborhood together, whether it be public or in a guild and stuff like this, to earn rewards for your housing, stuff like all of that. Obviously, neighborhoods are a non-PvP zone. God, imagine that. Oh my God, imagine that. Imagine, like, if everyone accepted for the zone to become a PvP zone, and it was just carnage. You could set up house defenses. Oh my God, you could just have random, like, druids placed around your house that root people. Oh my God, it's amazing. Get it in the game. Okay. But yeah, essentially these neighborhoods are going to be very good. You can have, like I said, public or private. The private ones with guilds are apparently going to fit however many people are in the guild. So public ones are going to be up to 50 people in the neighborhood, whereas guilds are going to be more flexible. And if you have 100 people, it should allow up to everyone or all 100 people within that guild to have a plot of land in your neighborhood, which is really cool. I like that dynamic feature, and I think that it makes sense, because if you have 51 guild members and you've got 50 of them all in a neighborhood, you've got this poor little soul that's just doing his own thing in his own neighborhood. So, yeah, it kind of makes a lot of sense that that would be the case. Now, we'll move on to the next thing. Overall, you know what? I'm going to give my overall on the player housing. The player housing coming in, well, before the expansion, but it is a part of this expansion's feature. This is going to be the 10 out of 10, the thing that sells everyone on the expansion, okay? This is what Midnight will be remembered for. It will be the player housing, without a doubt, okay? It's one of them things, people need to accept this now. Player housing in Midnight, hand in hand, that's what the expansion's remembered for. Just like how Legion was artifact weapons and the class halls and the whole class identity stuff that they really, honed in on for Legion, it's going to be player housing. It always is, okay? So I'm going to give it the 10 out of 10 treatment. I think player housing is needed in WoW. I think it's been looked at so many times within the game's history, and I think it's a great time to introduce it. So yeah, 10 out of 10. Now, Demon Hunters, you are getting a third specialization. The specialization is called Devour, okay? It's really cool. It works as kind of a pseudo caster / melee. You can have the option to play it as either. So you can have the option to play it as just a caster, like an evoker style where you're a short-ranged caster, or you can dip into sort of caster / melee kind of deal. I'm not sure what you're looking at. Maybe, honestly, Ret Paladin, because Ret Paladins have 25-yard range just forever. They have more range than an evoker, Ret Paladins, so that is not a melee class, that is a ranged class, I'll have you know. But yeah, you can dip into sort of a hybrid style build with it. But here are some of the abilities that they've given us, essentially. So, Reap, a scythe attack that consumes soul fragments. Void Blade and Hungering Slash, a melee combo with a retreat movement, Collapsing Star, a powerful finisher, Void Ray, a piercing beam of void energy, Void Metamorphosis, Void Theme Transformation, sustained by Soul Harvesting. So, obviously, some of these are rehashes of certain abilities. You have Eye Beam, which is Void Ray. Collapsing Star actually came from Plunderstorm, believe it or not, but I think it's a different version of Collapsing Star. I think they've sort of altered it a little bit, but that is where Collapsing Star has come from. The Metamorphosis is obviously the Metamorphosis, but it acts differently. This isn't a click it, go into a 30-second cooldown. This is a click it and you have a resource bar. And your job, but kind of like Insanity for priests, back in Warlords of Draenor, back in Legion, when you pressed your Void Ascendants, your Insanity got drained. Insanity was your resource bar for the time. The Insanity got drained, and over this course, you could do a lot more damage, a substantial amount of damage. But once that Insanity, hit 0, then you were taken out of this form. This is how this works, okay? So you pop Metamorphosis or Void Metamorphosis, and essentially your Fury bar, or what would it be called? Your Harvest, your Souls? I don't know. But your resource bar will start to deplete. Once it hits 0, you are out of your Metamorphosis, and the longer you are in this form, the more damage you do. They have confirmed this, so you want to be in this as well as you can, and I'm sure that PvEers are going to be disgustingly good at keeping this up whilst doing mechanics. I'm going to love to see this in a raid setting. In PvP, I think you'll be very hard done by to utilize this to its full potential. Okay, it has yet to be seen its potential in PvP, but in PvE, I think that this could be it's going to be one of them things that make or breaks PvE, because if you remember back in Warlords of Draenor, the priests had this same mechanic where their insanity drained, and they had a talent. This talent essentially meant that you could gain 200% more increased sanity. I think it was later nerfed to 100%, but it made you die if you ever ran out of insanity, and you could just pump. The entire raid or the boss fight, you would just pump damage. You would double people's damage, and it would be absolutely insane. So they're going to have to fine-tune this a bit, but it's going to be good. It's going to be good. So with this, obviously, there are new hero talents. And the hero talents are now called Annihilator. The Annihilator is a work in progress name. They haven't sort of sat on it yet, the name for it. But Annihilator is going to be shared between Devour Demon Hunters and Vengeance Demon Hunters. You now have Scarred, not Felscarred, Scarred, between Devour and Havoc. And you have Aldraki Reaver for Havoc and Vengeance. Very simple, okay? It's obviously your triangle sort of system where each one will get 2, but there's a different niche to each of them. So, it's the same as every other class now, pretty much. But Annihilator sounds really cool. Apparently, you're just cooling down sort of comets from the sky or meteors, which is kind of sick, okay? It is kind of sick, like void meteors or something. It's very cool. Now, you also have Void Elves that are coming to, or going to become Demon Hunters. Now, obviously, this does make an imbalance for Horde and Alliance, because two classes can now be Demon Hunter for Alliance, compared to the one which is Blood Elf for the Horde. And I think that they'll eventually kind of even this out. I think that the Amani Trolls are getting to a point where they will join the Horde only, the Amani Trolls, because you can't really put them in the Alliance bracket, to say the least. So I think that they will eventually get Amani Trolls, and we obviously have Void Elves that can be a Demon Hunter, like playable race kind of deal. They have also said that there are more classes that they're going to mix and match with different races, in terms of class race combinations, but we don't know what they will be yet. We don't know when they will be, but they said nothing is off the table pretty much. I think kind of you just open it up to most things. I don't think that would be too much of a problem. I really, really don't. But again, remains to be seen. Next up, we have the new allied race that is going to come along in Midnight, and this is for both Horde and Alliance. The Haranir. Yes. So the Haranir are ones that we've encountered in the War Within. We encountered them into Azkahet leveling, and we haven't had a lot about them, to be honest. It almost seemed like they did forget about them, but kind of were like, oh, actually, no, they are a big part of this. And you could kind of see that they were setting them up for it in like a couple quest lines and stuff here and there. But they look really cool. They have different kind of skeletons. We call them skeletons. They're modelled off of kind of night elves and trolls, which is really cool. It makes for some really cool looks. The customization is very broad. You can customize the ears, the fur that they have on them. They're like even like these vines that come out of their shoulders, like almost thorns, like hedgehog thorns or whatever. It's really cool. They are very cool. But what they have to say about it is these ancient hunters hail from a hidden land, Harandar, one of the new expansion zones. For the Haranir, the roots of the world tree are their home. The architecture is grown rather than built, reminiscent in style to the botany of Draenor. Their homes are shaped from roots and glowing mushrooms. So I'm wondering if they. This is my theory. Ever since I saw this, and I saw that they were obviously roots of the world tree, sort of living like in these roots, I wonder if when we go to their zone, they will have a sort of portal where all of the roots of the world trees meet. And I wonder if Teldrassil's will be there. And I wonder if Teldrassil's roots will actually be healthy. They will be healthy roots and they may sprout again and that kind of deal. I would love if they put that in there. I think it would be amazing. Obviously, we're not going to get a Teldrassil just bloom out of nothing. This would take years of Teldrassil being blossomed or blooming again. But I would love a new starting zone for Night Elves. And I think that that's what they will eventually do with the Night Elves. A completely revamped Teldrassil would be cool. A completely revamped, honestly, starting zone for everyone. For the trolls, for the orcs. You could do that. Who knows? It might be useful, might not be. But it is what it is. Because they changed Exile's reach, or they are going to, and they're going to update it to be more sort of lore relevant for the time being, and the expansion to help newer players get back into the game, which is really cool. And I would definitely recommend doing that if you are a new player or a returning player, because they will take you into the recent storyline of the latest expansion, or one of the previous expansions, and then you get taken into the current expansion kind of deal. So that's how that works. It's really cool and would very much recommend it. The Haranir will have 9 classes available to them: Druid, Hunter, Mage, Monk, Priest, Rogue, Shaman, Warlock, and, yep, you guessed it, Warrior, the Zugzags. Certain aspects of Haranir, such as a Druid shapeshift form and racials, we do kind of know some of these now. The racials we do. But the shapeshift forms we don't. We got a glimpse of a cat form in a trailer. That was about it. The racials aren't anything amazing. They really aren't. They just have increased sort of healing. It's nothing amazing. But the new zones in Midnight, or I should say, for the Haranir, and honestly, Demon Hunter, I keep forgetting to give my ratings. The Demon Hunter has needed a 3rd spec since Legion. Okay, so I get that this is always on the cards and what should have been done a lot earlier, to be honest. I'd give it a solid 5 out of 10. It's not going to make or break the expansion. If you're a Demon Hunter main, then you're going to be like, yeah, this is 10 out of 10 needed, 100%. But for me, 5 out of 10, it's needed, it's a necessity, and it brings the Demon Hunters in par with everything else, apart from Druids, who have 4 specs. But, you know, we're Druids, we're allowed to. as for the Haranir, you expect an allied race every sort of other expansion. You expect these races to be built in order to house sort of the armor that the characters wear and stuff. So it wasn't really a surprise.
Let's take a quick break.
Ever wondered what a rhythm-based stealth game with dinosaurs might look like? Or a farming sim in space with zombies? Welcome to the Gaming Blender podcast. I'm Matt, and with my co-host Scott, we take a random game genre and random game mechanics, blend them all up, and pitch wild, totally hypothetical games you've never heard of, and maybe shouldn't. New episodes every other week. Hit play and unleash your inner game dev. No coding required. Search the Gaming Blender on your favorite podcast app now.
I kind of expected a new class, like a full new class, but we kind of got half and half. We got one allied race for both, and then one sort of specialization. So again, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. I think that the Haranir look amazing and they're really cool, but for me, it's nothing that I would look at and go, yes, that's what I wanted. I've never looked at a allied race and been like, yep, that is amazing, and they are definitely what I'm going to main. I will always main a night elf unless there is a PvP racial that is just too good to pass up. In which case, I'll probably just go dwarf anyway. Because dwarf racial is insane in PvP. It's so good. But Shadow Meld is also just top of the line. So it is what it is. Now, the zones in Midnight. We are getting 4 new zones. And each of these, you get to pick and choose which ones you want to level in at whatever time. You are not going to go from this zone to this zone to this zone in an order. It's very much, I want to go to this zone. Cool, let's level in this zone then. So these 4 zones, we have Harandar, which is the Haranir's homeland. Quel'thalas, which obviously is the home of the Blood Elves. And this is a revamped Quel'thalas. Now, Quel'thalas has not gotten an update since the Burning Crusade. Okay, to put that into perspective, the Burning Crusade came out in 2007. So this has been untouched for nearly 20 years. It'll be 19-ish years since, like, when Midnight comes out. So it really needed an update. It really did. It also, from what we've seen, looks gorgeous. It absolutely looks so stunning. And I really hope that just flying around Quel'thalas, somewhere that is nice to look at on the actual continent of Eastern Kingdoms, you know, we can get some sort of familiarity with Azeroth again, that kind of deal. I love it. Looks amazing. And I definitely think that this will be my go-to to level. We also get Zul'Aman, and this one I didn't expect. Zul'Aman we've obviously encountered a couple times, once as a raid back in Burning Crusade, once as a dungeon back in Cataclysm, and now as a full-on zone in Midnight. Now, it's really tough to see how the zone would look. When you always go behind Zul'Aman, there is a lot of empty space, okay? For those who explore around the Outer Bounds areas, there is a lot of space behind Zul'Aman, so you can kind of gauge that there was meant to be something a lot bigger there. But this is clearly what they're doing in Midnight. They're going to expand into that part of the zone and essentially make the troll city that it was meant to be. It's meant to be a fortress. It's meant to be so tough and hostile to go into, but we are going into this zone to help them out because the Void essentially have assaulted them in their own fortress and homeland. So we'll see. Zul'Aman, I think it's going to be a solid one, but again, I don't like the troll stuff. I don't like the Zul'Aman stuff. We've had it too many times. The reason why Zul'Farrak is one of my most beloved dungeons ever is because we see it once. Genuinely, it's because we see it once. I have never looked at Zul'Aman and been like, oh my god, yes, I'm so glad we're going back there. But when I ever do Zul'Farrak in Classic, in Retail, I'm always like, oh, I still love this place. I still love it. Again, that's going to be due to the layout of it, the bosses, and all of that stuff as well. But I don't know, Zul'Aman again? We'll see. And then finally, you have Voidstorm. Okay, now this, we don't have a lot of information about this, but essentially the Voidstorm is you are going into this void, and you're going to be contesting a lot of people there, and you're going to be knocking on Xalatan's door for the raid and being like, yo, we're here, we're coming to kick some ass, whatever you're doing here, stop it now. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting from this zone. There isn't much more to it. But with Quel'thalas, obviously, comes Silvermoon City as well. This is going to be the player hub city for Midnight, and it has been rebuilt for this expansion, pretty much. Silvermoon includes new areas like Sanctum of Light and the Memorial Gardens. The Scourge invasion is now in the past, and the surrounding lands have been revived and repaired. So, for those of you that have never made a Blood Elf, in the middle of literally the entire zone is something called the Dead Scar. Okay, you can look it up now, it's right there still, but it is the Dead Scar. And this is basically where the armies of the Scourge marched up to the Sunwell. They marched to the Sunwell, and this is the sort of devastation they left behind them. And this is the ground that was once consecrated, now has been, or desecrated, I should say, now has been revived and is looking luscious, essentially. Lush? Yeah, something like that. But it looks amazing. It looks absolutely gorgeous, Silvermoon. There are only certain parts of the city where Horde can enter. I believe that it's like 2/3 of the city are shared, and then 1/3 of the city is Horde only. I think it, personally, being Alliance player, I think it should have been the other way around. I think that 2/3 of the shit... I keep saying shitty. The 2/3 of the city should have been for Horde, and the Alliance get 1/3 of the city. It just makes sense, okay? Because later on, you can tell that Velen's going to pop up in later patches and be like, yo, what's happening here? I'm part of, Team Light. I hate the Void, and, I'm bringing a Vindicar and kicking ass. So you can always make an excuse for that to become the Alliance sort of main hub throughout the expansion, but we'll see. For Eversong Woods, obviously, this is where you are going to begin. So you'll start off leveling here, but then you get to basically say, no, actually, I want to go to this place or this place, and that kind of deal. So it's very easy. But Ghostlands, Isle of Quel'Danas, and Eversong Woods have all been combined, okay? So these are all 3 separate zones. You would start off in Eversong Woods, go into the Ghostlands, if you are leveling as a Blood Elf, and then eventually at max level you would have hit Quel'Danas and done some dailies there and stuff like this. Now, it is all one zone. I wanted to see how they moved Quel'Danas into the mainland. Maybe there's a bridge, maybe there's just a big bridge. Who knows? I would love to see the Ghostlands though. The Ghostlands are going to be completely different. This was essentially a zone that was just ripe with Scourge and loads of lost memories. So I want to see how much this has been repaired, this zone, and regrown and redone up. I would love to see it, and I think that it will be amazing. And I really hope that it does well, essentially. But again, you have multiple delves in this zone. You have multiple dungeons and stuff. I forget how many are each. I think there's 8 dungeons, sorry, and there's 9 delves. Now, let me just double check. Yeah, so there's 1 dungeon and 1 delve in Harandar. You have 2 dungeons and 3 delves in Quel'thalas. You have 2 dungeons in Zul'Aman, and 2 dungeons and 3 delves in the Voidstorm. So, make of that what you will. 4 of them are max level dungeons, 4 of them are leveling dungeons, and the delves are obviously, well, you can do both, but mostly for gearing at max level kind of deal. So you do have a lot of content to get through there with each of the zones. Again, all of them look so good. I definitely am looking forward to Quel'thalas a lot more, though. That is the one, because it just looks absolutely incredible. Now, the first season, will introduce 3 actual raids, which is interesting. The raids are going to be the Voidspire. You're going to have the Dream Rift and March on Quel'Danas. I believe these come out one after the other. Like, the very first one to come out is the Voidspire, and then the Dream Rift, and then March on Quel'Danas. And this first raid will have a 6-boss raid, and essentially it's Xal'atath's stronghold. Culminating in a showdown with Dominus Lord Avazian and Salhadar. No idea who these people are, but I'm sure we'll find out if we level through the zone. The Dream Rift is a single boss raid that takes players between the veil, between Primordial Dream and the Brutal Reality, where it's very thin. Here we join Shalka in the hunt, of an undreamt god that never should have been. On the way, we fight half-breathed abominations that lash out against existence herself. So, this is a Haranir raid, and what we saw within what they introduced us in the Haranir, sort of zone, is that there is this place where the dreams come through, and some dreams become nightmares, and these nightmares, you have people guarding these sort of portals, and they are being slain, these nightmares, so that they do not, cause havoc on Azeroth itself. So we are clearly going into one of these and kicking ass from one of the nightmares that Azeroth is having. It is the planet herself that is having these dreams and nightmares. So that's kind of cool. And then March on Quel'Danas is very spoiler heavy, apparently, in terms of a raid. It's a 2-boss raid, which is the story climax. The united armies of the Elven tribes march on Sunwell Plateau. Again, Sunwell is going to be important. Obviously, this will lead us into the next patch. We don't really know what is going to happen, but we will see. So, the Voidspire and Dream Rift will be available at the very beginning of the first season of Midnight, with March on Quel'Danas coming a few weeks later. Players will also have story quests following the events of the first 2 raids, that tie them into the last raid of the first tier. Very, very simple, very straightforward. Now, for the zones are going to make up a real big part of the expansion itself. It's really tough, because you look at zones that you've had in the past in terms of different expansions. Look at Legion, you have Azuna, High Mountain, what's the one on the right-hand side? Stormheim, and then Val'sharah. These are some quality. These are the 4 best zones I've ever seen in a WoW expansion. I will always compare it to these 4 zones, okay? That is my comparison of, do they rank at least some of them on the same level, or are they just worse, better, etc.? I think that they are worse. I don't think anything will ever beat that, to be honest. But Quel'thalas is the one that is going to make or break the expansion. It really is. Again, it's really tough without seeing the others. Zul'Aman brings it down. The other 2 are yet to be seen, but I'm going to give it 7 out of 10. I think it's a very solid basis. Zul'Aman's the only thing that I'm kind of very hesitant about. The others are very, very cool in their own right. I love Eversong Woods. I love the whole Blood Elf vibe. I love everything about it. I hope that they just do well with the revamp. That's all I care about. And I'm sure that they will. I'm sure that they took a lot of time into doing it, and I really hope that they do. But yeah, that is where I'll end it for this week. We'll finish this off next week, going over the rest of everything that has been introduced, and then I'll go more in depth as well next week about it, because There's still some information that are coming out on multiple things. So I want to make sure that I've gathered everything on my notes just to, make sure I don't miss anything. But there's a few things that we still need to get through, and I don't want to sort of skim past them. I want to get into depth with them and take a while to do so, but I can hear my voice going, so I do need to call it here, I'm afraid. So thank you all very much for listening. Do check out all of the socials down below. Constant stuff happening, as well as Etsy shop. Multiple things going up on there. I believe a recent weapon has gone up on there as well, so do check it out. It's actually really cool. I'm really happy with how it came out. I cannot believe how well the Scythe of Link came out on the 3D print, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Thank you all very much once again, and go with valor, friend. Goodbye all.